my newsletter is gold, because it's a place. So social media, Instagram, Facebook, it's like the gateway drug.
It is very useful. I mean, in terms of marketing and your brand, I mean, there's never been an easier time to get your artwork in front of eyeballs if your aim is to sell your art.
You could put a lot of content out on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube, but if you're not capturing that audience and trying to start an engaged email list, you're really missing out.
Welcome to the BoldBrush Show, where we believe that fortune favors the bold brush. My name is Laura Oren-Gilbert, and I'm your host. For those of you who are new to the podcast, we are a podcast that covers art marketing techniques and all sorts of business tips, specifically to help artists learn to better sell their work. We interview artists at all stages of their careers, as well as others who are in careers tied to the art world in order to hear their advice and insights. For this episode, we compiled insights from artists on the benefits of having and maintaining an email newsletter. Our guests share how a well-curated newsletter can foster deeper connections with fans, turning casual followers into loyal supporters. You'll hear tips on how newsletters can be used to promote new artwork, offer exclusive content, and build a dedicated community outside of social media platforms. They also discuss the advantages of owning your own contact list and share strategies for keeping subscribers interested, such as sharing behind-the-scenes stories or exclusive previews. Tune in to learn why investing time in a newsletter can lead to long-term success and growth for your art career.
I had this idea that when I was going into it, that everybody else had the manual, the how to be the artist manual of some kind. And I always felt like I was the only one that didn't have it. Mm-hmm. And then you start talking to other artists and realize that everybody feels like that. So, one, don't feel like you need to have everything figured out and together. It's always a learning process. I've been at it a while, and I still feel like there's so many areas that I can streamline things or learn, whether it's on the financial side, or it's on the improving as an artist. I would say one really, really important thing that I would tell my younger self is keep track of your collectors and the people that you interact with. I was not good at doing that. One of the things that really helped my career was this C.M. Russell exhibit. It was a week up in Great Falls, Montana, that a hotel was converted into gallery spaces. And so it got my work out there in a way that I hadn't been out there before. And it also got me direct sales. And I didn't really keep track of those people back then. And I think that was a major missed opportunity. I'm still struggling with this. I'm getting better. But so like for me now, my newsletter is gold, because it's a place. So social media, Instagram, Facebook, it's like the gateway drug in a way. Your work gets out there, and it's fun to have that kind of instant response, whether it's to a painting or a reel or, but I've only made sporadic sales through social media. But getting people over to my newsletter, where people are choosing to open the emails. It's their choice. I send out the email, it's their choice to open it, versus Instagram, where they're scrolling and maybe it catches their eye. And so they're choosing to read it. So that means they're actually following you. And so since the pandemic, that kind of direct relationship has been really, really important to keeping. Galleries are still very, very important, having really good relationships with my galleries, making sure that I'm communicating with my galleries, keeping them supplied with work, is really, really important, because for me, like the galleries are places where, say like behind me is a large painting. That's that's something that would go in a gallery. They're better able to handle work like that. But sometimes doing I've done a number of fun projects that I've shared with my newsletter subscribers, usually with smaller paintings, that kind of augment the gallery sales and make things a little bit more stable.
I would say that when we did start thinking in that way of marketing, something that was just resound in me was it's got to be about the art, not just a unique way of showing the art. I mean, although that all of that happens, but first and foremost, the first thing is it's got to be about the art. And I think instead of, just, I mean, Buddy has ideas just constantly, and they've been great ones. And I would say FASO has been a gift to us. And the fact that it offers, I would say, the best marketing thing we have done, which is totally Buddy, putting it together, has been the newsletter connection on our website, which is our FASO website. And I know that that's who I'm talking to right now, but I would say this to anybody, that was a tool that has gone out. We've done a newsletter once a month
for about 8 years.
For 8 years. It happens at the beginning of the month, sometimes a couple of days late, but I've never seen somebody stay on something like Buddy has. And it's all about what's happening now. What workshops are we, am I teaching? What trips are we going on? Where are we? What have I been painting lately? And that has been probably one of the best marketing tools it's definitely.
Yeah, way to go, FASO, way to go. But it is, anyone listening, I'm telling you, start a newsletter. The best time to plant a sequoia is, once heard, was like 800 years ago. The second best time to plant a sequoia is today. So you start something we've gone 8 years at this every month, and it's not too much by, we haven't done it every 2 or 3 weeks or 1 week, and we haven't skipped times. We've just stayed steady, and her following has grown over 8 years all by itself. And people subscribe to the newsletter.
Hopefully the paintings had a little something.
Had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Because it's so full circle to what she's really saying is it's about the art. And of course there's an artist behind the art, but you lead with the beauty, and then you find out who's, busy creating that and how she goes about it, and you become very intrigued with that. But if you're not hooked on the art, I mean, how are you going to get hooked on creating something that you don't care about? So yeah, it's about travels and workshops and galleries and new release paintings. And
if that is a goal that you have, it takes time. It really does. And if that is your main goal, you're probably going to get really frustrated because it doesn't happen quickly. Some people, it might happen faster for some people, but for me, it was showing up consistently every week, not missing a week for 2 or 3 years before you can see larger numbers like that. I wanted to add one more thing about the email list, because that's what I tell other artists all the time, is that right now, at a time when there is so much going on with social media and platforms are changing, algorithms are changing, TikTok or Twitter changes to X overnight, and everything is different over there now. Instagram favors reels now and video even more so than photos. So we're constantly trying to regain our footing when it comes to social media. That's why more than ever, an email list is so important. You own that audience, and you could put a lot of content out on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube, but if you're not capturing that audience and trying to start an engaged email list, you're really missing out, because things can change over time, but that email list is more valuable to me than anything else. So I encourage anyone out there who even wants to sell their art, or some type of, if they want to have some product in the future, they don't even know what it is yet. When you're at an art show, put out your little book, say, sign up for my email list. When you put things on Instagram, when you put things on YouTube, try to promote people and give them a reason to sign up for your newsletter. If you just say, I have a newsletter, 9 out of 10 people aren't going to care. So give them a great reason to sign up, because you collecting those names over the years is so valuable, because your open rate in your emails is always going to be higher than the algorithm that feeds people your stuff on Instagram or anything else.
People maybe have lost the value of sending a postcard, sending a letter to people, and that helps out immensely. Years ago, I gave classes to Tom Kinney. Tom Kinney is the voice of SpongeBob, and I gave art classes to his son and his daughter. And to this day, he still makes a donation in my name to, I think it's, let me see if I remember quite well. I think it's for cancer research. I'm trying to remember what it is, but either way, I just think it's so nice to be able to get every year get a postcard, Christmas card from them, and it's like, wow, okay, I touched somebody in that sense, where I was able to make a little bit of a difference, and so I think postcards and sending so a message in the mail, old school, is still very valuable. It's helped me anyway, and I've been, again, I keep using that word fortunate, because I've been very fortunate to have those connections. So, and but you got to work from, and I think if you're genuine in what in your craft, and if you're trying to be very genuine in the communication that you're trying to with the message you're trying to convey, is that yes, this is my artwork, and this is what I'm trying to say, and this is what I'm trying to do. You strike up a conversation, and sometimes it turns into you know what, I really love that piece. I want to take it with me. So it's again, it takes some time, it takes some doing, and I feel like, again, if just going back to this whole social media and what it is that seems to be working for me is again the connections that I make through newsletters and postcards, and driving somewhere to see somebody, and just having lunch or whatever it might be, just just talk about something other than just art.
Not only did he trade for food and some lodging, but he also traded with a lot of other artists. So Johanna not only got a lot of his paintings, but she got a lot of other impressionists who were just starting out. So she did okay, but she didn't have to do that.
No.
But and it's kind of the same way to this day, just because so many artists have gone down the abstract path. And for me, I don't understand it. I would never poo-poo it if someone loves it, but trying to be a representational artist in this day and age, where you have to be wild and really out there, it's difficult. It's difficult to get that underneath your, to get that traction. And so one of the other things that I will say, as far as this being a relationship-driven career, and that is, I've gotten into two of my galleries, my main galleries, actually, two of my main galleries, because I was in a show, and either the gallery owner came up to me afterwards and said, we'd love to represent you, or the judge came to me afterwards and said, would you like to meet this gallery owner that he was in? And I said, absolutely. And so this was now before they had, all these books that you could do. This was a print on demand. And so I did my portfolio as a hardcover book, and I sent it out to the gallery owner, and that's how I got in. Just, you do your very best work, you stand out from the crowd, you're not afraid to, you always got to ask for the sale. That's another big thing with trying to make an impression and make inroads into making a living as an artist. Never be afraid to ask for the sale. And when I first started out, I never asked for the sale. If you were looking at one of your pieces of art in a show and you were talking with someone, you can always just say, can I wrap it up? I can come out and hang it in your house. I'd be happy to do that. And you would be surprised the number of times people say, yeah, okay, let's do that. And so, yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice and the biggest epiphanies that I had was people just want to be invited to make that sale. And sometimes you can do it on Instagram, or you can do it on Facebook. If someone shows an interest, personal message them and say, I know that you like this work of art. It's available. What do you say we make this a done deal? So, and that does work. It doesn't always work, but even if they don't buy that one, you've made another friend. Ask them if you can put them on your newsletter, and send them that and stay in contact with them. People really appreciate that,
Mhm,
So,
mhm. Especially if they love your work. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if they're looking at someone else's work, don't go up and ask them if you can put them on your newsletter. But if you've talking to them a little bit, yeah, people generally will say, yeah, okay. And the ones that say no, well, you want good people that are on your newsletter anyways, as far as you want people who are interested, not just one of the things that we used to do when we had the open studio here is we would have a giveaway of a print if you signed up for the newsletter. But what we found is that people were just signing up to get the print, not necessarily who are interested in seeing your work or collecting your work. So we've stopped doing that in favor of asking people once we've talked to them if they'd be interested in getting on the newsletter.
At BoldBrush, we inspire artists to inspire the world because creating art creates magic. And the world is currently in desperate need of magic. BoldBrush provides artists with free art marketing, creativity, and business ideas and information. This show is an example. We also offer written resources, articles, and a free monthly art contest open to all visual artists. We believe that fortune favors the bold brush. And if you believe that too, sign up completely free at boldbrushshow.com. That's BoldBrush show.com. The BoldBrush Show is sponsored by Faso. Now more than ever, it's crucial to have a website when you're an artist, especially if you want to be a professional in your career. Thankfully, with our special link, faso.com/podcast, you can make that come true and also get over 50% off your first year on your artist website. Yes, that's basically the price of 12 lattes in 1 year, which I think is a really great deal, considering that you get sleek and beautiful website templates that are also mobile friendly, e-commerce, print on demand in certain countries, as well as access to our marketing center that has our brand new art marketing calendar. And the art marketing calendar is something that you won't get with our competitor. The art marketing calendar gives you day-by-day, step-by-step guides on what you should be doing today, right now, in order to get your artwork out there and seen by the right eyes so that you can make more sales this year. So if you want to change your life and actually meet your sales goal this year, then start now by going to our special link, faso.com/podcast. That's faso.com/podcast.
It's very useful, I mean, in terms of marketing and your brand. I mean, there's never been an easier time to get your artwork in front of eyeballs if your aim is to sell your art. I have many good friends who they have no interest in selling their art, and they are fabulous painters, so that doesn't apply to them. But if you are interested in selling your art, getting into galleries or whatever it is, the internet is a wonderful tool if used wisely. when I first started, seeking out commissions, there wasn't an internet. It was all, can you imagine? It was all done by, oh, let's send out a mailer, let's send out a holiday greeting card, et cetera, et cetera. But the good news of that was you were doing direct one-to-one marketing, where you were sending a handwritten note to the person. You knew the person, they knew you. And that is something that I'm still very grateful for, because those early commissions, those people are still now reading my email newsletter. And we're talking 20 years later, their kids have grown up, and to me, that's something really to learn, that one-to-one is still very, very important. And I think in terms of marketing our art, we have forgotten that, for those of us that are really in the sort of newer world, digital world, forgotten. And, in my opinion, and I can only speak from my own opinion, but Instagram and Facebook are just part of what I think I should be doing. My main thrust is still as much direct communication as I can get with people is still my goal. I mean, I'm, even in the thrust of my artwork, I'm interested in the direct interaction with people, the sitter, the person on the street. I'm a people watcher. I'd rather be sitting in a sidewalk cafe than in a forest. That's just me. I'm interested through my portrait art in, the unique thread of humanity that connects us all. And the other thing I like, I've been really interested recently in this motivational author called James Clear. And he's written a very successful book called Atomic Habits. And he doesn't call it a mountain, he calls it an iceberg, right? So and this was very interesting. I was just listening to his masterclass on the plane back from New York last week. So he calls it an iceberg. And what is that iceberg bit at the top there? Maybe it's a collection of still life paintings you're trying to sell, or a art workshop internationally, or whatever, or getting a big portrait commission. So you've got the tip of the iceberg, and then you have underneath the water, you have to get your systems in place. He calls it your systems in place, because chances are, if you don't put those systems in place, you're not going to get that workshop filled internationally, or you're not going to get that big commission, or you're not going to get that collection of beautiful still lifes into a gallery. And those systems in place, of course, are all the things that we have talked about. Yes. Your subscriber list, you're getting in front of as many eyeballs as you can, but a fairly worked out plan of what you are going to do to make that happen. And the other thing he talks about is that just do a little bit every day, because sometimes the task seems so overwhelming, and I have felt that. That you kind of go, So, okay, you've got to go and write another newsletter, and you don't know what on earth you're going to write about yourself, because it's a delicate balance. You're selling yourself in a newsletter, but you have to make it look like you're not.
Yes.
So,
yes. Because it can feel a little bit slimy.
Yeah, and I'm sure quite a few of mine have felt slimy, but because you're selling. Yes. But so probably it's something that I put off. I mean, I certainly don't do more than 4 a year. My lists do not want to hear from me every month, that's for sure. And actually 3 a year is better for me. But I put it off, because it's just overwhelming, and you've got to do all the links, and you've got to do this and you do that. And I'm like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. And then I'll, say, well, if I just go in and do 5 minutes today, just put a few images in there, and then do 5 images tomorrow. And then the thoughts that I want to write about will actually come to me, because obviously the images are usually something that you've been creating recently, or, and then also share something if you can about, how to frame or hang a painting in the best possible way, or, try and share a little bit too.
Yeah, I love that, because it is so easy to get overwhelmed as an artist, especially because I really like to compare it to the 80-20 rule. It's a little bit like what you said about the iceberg, where if you want 20%, right, 20% is the important stuff, right? But it takes 80% of everything else of those systems. Those systems are that 80%
Yeah.
of making sure you're even painting, of reaching out to collectors, of updating your website, of sending out the newsletters, of basically keeping everything just in order so that you get that little 20% at the top that's peeking out of that iceberg, which can be really overwhelming. And also I
Yes.
love the Kaizen thing where, taking it a little bit at a time, doing a little bit each day. It's kind of like if you have a giant cake in front of you, right? You can't eat the whole thing in one sitting, but you can eat a little piece every day. And before you know it, the cake is gone.
Yeah. That's so true. And the other thing I really liked about Mr. Clear is that he said saying no, and this is something that I think I have learned over the years, but it was good to see it in writing. Saying no is the biggest productivity hack, because how many times do we say yes to things that take up so much time? So if you're going to say yes to something, maybe to the more beginner artists building their careers, if you're going to say yes to something, make sure that yes is leading you to your goal. I have said yes to so many things over the last 25 years that I thought would benefit me. And, it just turned out, well, wow, that just took a huge chunk of my day, my week, when I could have been painting and doing that newsletter.
I actually have one collector that is one of my best collectors who found me online when I lived in Michigan and bought a piece and continues to buy my work out here now. And I've had her to my home, and I usually will have a once a year salon show at home where I invite only my collectors or future collectors, kind of like a way to just show them what I'm working on. So they become, friends, and I value them. And then through my galleries, I would say, they maintain a really strong relationship with collectors. And anytime I'm working on a new piece, they'll make sure that collector gets to see it. And then out on social media, people get to stay in touch, and the newsletter. Actually, on the Faso website, my newsletter, I built a strong following during COVID. I couldn't paint my large paintings. I thought I would kill them, and I knew I had to paint. So I did that I could keep working, and I knew I could sustain focus for, a 6x8. So I think I painted about 80 of them, close to 80, and sold them all through my newsletter on Faso. So I would let the buyers know that, next Tuesday, look for my newsletter, and first come, first serve, it gets sold to, whoever tells me I want it. And so I built up, I think I added 400 followers from that campaign on that newsletter, because they were buying the paintings. So the newsletter is also a big thing. I would say social media and keeping in touch through a consistent newsletter on Faso has been, Fine Art Studio Online, for those who don't know.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I love that you bring that up, because I think that's another thing that's pretty underrated. The real people who sign up for your newsletter are people who are actually interested in buying, right? Because like your followers on Instagram, sometimes they're just there to support, or just there to be looky-loos, or to be inspired. But then the people who really are interested and want to know more and want to be engaged, they will definitely sign up for a newsletter, and maintaining that list is also very important. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, those are the people who, a lot of them are artists themselves, and a lot are actual art buyers, or people who have a love for the arts, and your work is speaking to that person because they've taken the time to sign up. And that actually, I sometimes forget to be as consistent if I don't have a campaign or something going. But it is important to maintain that relationship because they signed up and they, you know, they want to know what's happening and what's new.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot more, I guess it's a lot more intimate in that way because on social media, it's just an image. Maybe you'll put like a little paragraph underneath, but with a newsletter and if you also keep a blog, which I know that on Faso you can have a blog, you can also write longer form things. And there are people who will read it, they'll comment and they'll email you. And I think that's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I love getting the emails back. I love when I send the newsletter out and I'll get, you know, responses back, even if it's just to say hi or, you know, got it. Yeah, I love that.
Well, first I will say that your relationship with your gallery is one that you nurture. And my galleries are a partner with me. Like we are both going for a good common cause. They want to make money. I want to make money. And so we're going to work together to make that happen. And I think that there are a lot of people who are like, oh, the galleries are trying to do me wrong. And that's just not the case. They want to help you as much as help themselves. So it's definitely a partnership. And so we discuss, you know, whether or not they are willing to give me a collector's name and am I going to go around them to go sell directly to that collector? Heck no. You know, I mean, I have a understanding with my galleries that I won't undercut them. I won't knock the sale out from underneath of them. Any collector that is connected with the gallery, I'm going to run that sale right through the gallery. So because it benefits me just as much. This is a long-term relationship. So that being said, one of the things that I do is if I know that I am going to deliver work, which the two galleries that I have right now are within driving distance. So I will drive my work to the gallery and ahead of time, I'll send out a newsletter that basically says, I'm going to be at the gallery on this date and I would love to meet up. Come and meet me at the gallery and we can talk about this piece, you know? And so I've met a few collectors that way who've either already bought my work or have been dying to see the work in person and they met me there and we forged a relationship together. And that in-person thing is just wonderful. I try to do that as much as possible. Now, I have collectors in England, in France, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get to meet every collector in person, but I love it when they engage with me. And so I will, sometimes I'll post a photo of the painting, say it sold online on one of my social media sites. And then the collector will come forth and say, oh, it was me that bought it. And I'm like, great, this is wonderful. Then I have a conversation that I can engage with them and find out a little bit more why they like the piece, a little bit more about them. And so I'm just always open to the conversation, I guess. And to that end, I send out a newsletter once a month or more. And I try to post on my Instagram page 2 or 3 times a week. And yeah, I'm just me. I'm not nearly as polished as a lot of the people who post on Instagram and all the videos that they're doing now. I'm like, I try, I do the best that I can. But I am what I am.